Hey everyone, welcome back to Pep Talks. I am your hostess with the mostest, Peppermint, and I'm your host. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm so happy that you are here. Welcome back to another fabulous show. This is Pep Talks, the interactive extravaganza that covers hot topics, issues of the day, notable Black cinema throughout history, and of course, some of my favorite products. And each week, I invite you to throw on your favorite pajamas and your mud mask and join me and my celebrity guest as we dish our takes on movies, drama, and our favorite trends and products. So sit tight. Oh, get some popcorn too, because I'm going to have some popcorn a little bit later on. Damn, I should have got some. I might get some popcorn during this if I can manage it. This is a celebration of everything that I love: Black cinema, makeup, and pop culture. There you have it. If you haven't seen the show before, now right away in the comments, if you've been here before and watched the show, then drop a. Let's see. Let me get an emoji. Put if you've been here before, put a banana. I would say an eggplant, but I think we've done that before. So if you've seen the show before, drop a banana into the comments. And if you haven't seen the show before, drop a chestnut, which I know that there's chestnuts on the emoji keyboard. Um, and by the way, if you see me looking down like this, that just means that I'm in the chat, looking for some comments to post onto the screen or to talk about and to bring into the show, to bring into the fold. So don't be upset if you see me looking down. My mom just texted. Good grief. Um, anyway, last week we talked about Patrick Starr's One Size. Ooh, let me get it without falling. One Size Matte Secure the Blur Eye Patches and Makeup Primer, right? And it came in a box and a whole elaborate thing. I recycled that because I didn't need it sitting around the house. And so this is it. And these are the products here. Do we have some? Can we put the pictures on the screen? I'm not sure if we have them to put on the screen. Hopefully we do. So I've been using the primer and the eye patches all week. It comes in a box, I think, of 6 or 7. I didn't count how many, but there was like literally enough for 1 week. So obviously it must have been about 7 eye patches. I've got one left and I'm going to use it tonight. I have eczema and it only acts up in the winter, which is extremely dry skin, basically. And I get dry patches underneath my eye, which is, I think, pretty normal. These did the trick. These kept moisture on. You put them on. I don't want to open them. Okay, I'll open them. I'm not going to use them though because it looks like I have makeup on. I don't have makeup on, but I'm not ready to use them. They come in a little envelope and a little disc here. There's lots of essence, which is like the product, like liquid. And they have these 2 eye patches here. You open up the little plastic disc and then you put them on under your eye. There's 2, obviously, because we got 2 eyes. And you leave them on for 10 minutes and let all that good juice soak into your skin. And it feels great and it's very restorative. So I highly recommend these. Great job, Patrick, on the. Oh, I can't get it back in the envelope. Yeah, the envelope's not reusable. Let's taste that. Oh, don't taste it. That's not good. And so here's the primer, the Secure the Blur primer. I never really was into makeup primer like that until this year. I've had it. I've heard of it. I used to do makeup professionally. It really does a great job of tightening the pores, adding a nice little layer of like cushion before you put down the makeup. And then it really does do a good job of kind of getting rid of some of the fine lines and details in the skin before you put on your foundation. It's really helpful over powder foundation as well. So I'm wearing the Secure the Blur, what's it, primer. I'm wearing the primer underneath my makeup right now. And I've only worn makeup a few times this week, so I didn't have that many times to try it out, but I like it. So thank you, Patrick Starr, highlighting a brown-owned business. I don't know how Patrick identifies, but obviously Patrick is a person of color. So highlighting brown-owned business this evening. So today's guest and movie are the fabulous Laith Ashley, my friend, and One Night in Miami, available on Amazon Prime. One Night in Miami 2020. I don't know if there was a 2019 version, but um, yeah, we're gonna just jump right ahead. We're gonna move to the next section. So before we actually do it, did anybody? Did we? Let me see. Let me look down in the comments. Mitch, maybe you can tell me too. Um, do we have how many bananas? Like, do we have lots of bananas? Okay, mostly bananas. Let's any chestnuts here? I think people don't know which one is the chestnut, and I don't actually know if it's a chestnut or a buckeye. And I didn't know what a buckeye was until I looked it up yesterday. It's like a little chestnut. It looks like a brown thing. Doritos? Doritos? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, let's just jump ahead. Let's welcome the actor, model, um, activist, singer, uh, co-star of my latest music video and single featured on my new album, A Girl Like Me Loves My Lovers, where the vinyls just shipped today. Or just went into production today. Got the email. Some of you who might have ordered may have gotten the same email. Please give it up for Laith Ashley.
Hi, hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you, Peppermint, for having me today. Um, I'm very excited to get into our talk and also the movie last night because I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, and I probably never would have watched it if you hadn't told me to. So
Good.
I'm really excited to get into that and our
Oh,
music
that's great.
video.
Yeah, yeah. We actually have a special treat in store for all of y'all. Um, and I want to say a big shout out. We have some new mods, and I would say thank you so much to our mods as in moderators. I'm learning the lingo, y'all. Um, I want to say a huge thank you and shout out to you mods for helping us keep the chat on point and for dropping the link to the music video featuring myself and Laith. I'd love to get those views up. So if you can share that link, everyone, when you see that link, share it and tell people to share it again. Um, so by the way, if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, check the link in the description or my Twitch profile to leave a tip to support the production of this show because this show is free to watch, but it is not free to put on. So please donate by hitting the donate button, the tip button, so that we can bring you the very best every single week. Okay. Um, let's start off with the hard. I'd like to start off with a really difficult question.
Oh boy.
Go right into politics. It's very political. It's very right down the middle in more than one way. Um, toilet paper on the roll. Over or
What?
under?
For me,
Yeah.
over. So you
I
had me.
knew I liked you.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I didn't care. Once upon a time, I was like, why? Who cares? And then I realized, when it's under, if your roll is on the wall, the toilet paper is touching the wall, and you're not constantly cleaning that wall. So yeah, I feel like over might be a little cleaner.
I agree too. And you can't even you can't even see it when it's behind the roll
Yeah,
and between the roll and the wall. You can't see it, and so I just think it's just a better situation
yeah.
when it's coming over. So I agree. Besides what you already have going on, if you could open your own small business, what would it be? I mean, like
Huh.
big, thinking big, like a store, an agency, a school.
Well,
What?
I've actually started working with I wouldn't call this a small business because I think it has a potential to be really huge and it's already
Oh,
expanding
all
really
right, you heard
fast.
it here, y'all.
And
That,
it's Folks Healthcare. So I've been in conjunction with Rocco and AG and I don't know if you saw today we reached 25 million in raising funds, $25 million to help give access to care across the country and hopefully eventually globally to trans people and gender non-binary people everywhere.
Can we
So
post about that in our hey, maybe the mods can help. Let's drop the link in the chat for folks at FOLX. And I even posted about it.
yeah.
I think it's, hold on. My mom is acting too much. Hold on.
Say hi to mommy.
Mom, I'm in the middle of work right now. I'll call you in a couple hours. Period. Are you okay? Question mark. Let me have some time. Sorry, everyone.
Like
Well, I think it's
I'm looking at the comments. I was like,
I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I knew that you were working with folks. I didn't know to what extreme,
yeah.
but I think this is fantastic. And it's, healthcare
I'm
for
the
trans.
advisory board, so I'm
Okay.
pretty deeply involved, and we're going to be doing a lot of I'm going to be doing a lot of work with folks and with everybody that's involved in their promotion and their marketing. So I've been doing things for them behind the scenes as well. So I'm really excited to be part of it because I see a lot of potential for growth. I see a lot of potential for equity, which is very important in trans hands and people of color,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully expanding and having other people open up businesses that are similar, giving us some power because even though like we always say, it's cliche to say money isn't everything, but unfortunately in the society that we live in right now, having equity means you have access, and if we can bring folks in and give everybody access, then there'll be more. We want equality, but before we get equality, equity I think is important.
100%. I want to say thank you to P Creek for that lovely tip. Don't think I didn't notice. $50. Thank you so much. You absolutely rock, and we
Yeah.
love you. Um, well, I think that's really interesting because now that you say it, not that it didn't occur to me before, but going from, and I talked about this a little bit in my video when I was posting about folks, is when I started my medical transition, which was in 2012, there really weren't a lot, there was not a lot of resources. And there was a couple of LGBT focused healthcare centers. You worked at one, Cal and Lord. And besides that, just like calling around to get information, to figure out what it is that I needed to do, to get someone who would even agree to prescribe, what I needed for my medical transition, it was a nightmare. I had people hanging up, telling me, we don't do that.
And well, I lived in New York City. You still live in New York City, but we were in a huge city that has a huge
everything.
LGBT, and we should have those resources, and still it was difficult. And
Mhm,
even
mhm.
fast forward, a decade is 2021, and the majority of the country still has a lot of dead zones, and that's what we're looking to do,
Mhm.
kind of close that gap and give the people that need the resources to live their
It's
lives.
a, it's really interesting because you hear, the all of the talk about trans healthcare that you hear is generally, at least in my experience, eh, officially, is usually coming from people who are cis, who aren't even in the community, who are
Yeah.
trying to make decisions about whether or not we should or shouldn't have it or be able to do.
Mhm.
And so I think this is just amazing. So
Yeah.
everyone check out folks healthcare. And if you are in a position to support them financially, and how are they collecting donations?
I think that they have the people that are in charge of their
It's
marketing and
inside investors.
side, yeah. So it's
Okay.
that
So
investor that really
so
believe
just
in the brand. So
post it.
we don't want we know that our community is the community that's in need of these
Right.
resources. We don't want our community to be going out of pocket.
Pocket.
So
Yeah.
eventually we're looking to start working with insurances and maybe possibly even starting our own insurance so that people
Ah.
will have access to this care. It's
Yeah.
no, it's a lot of work. It's still in development. But as things begin to unroll, you'll see on Folks' site, and I'll be obviously sharing more information for those that are interested in starting their medical transition and want to speak to a provider. I think they have those tools available on their website, on their Instagram page. So make your way there and check it out.
Go to folks.com. Go to folks on the
Yeah. Folks Health, sorry.
dot what?
It's folkshealth.com or on Folks Health on Instagram.
Okay, folkshealth.com or Folks Health on Instagram, and follow them and share their posts and pages. And yeah, let's lift this up so that everyone can see it.
Thanks.
So okay, here's a question. You can't tell by looking at me. Okay, I want you to use to finish the sentence. You can't tell by looking at me, but
you want me to? I'm like,
I want you to. That's what you say. Start the sentence. You can't tell by looking at me, and then finish it.
That you're naked underneath that robe.
No, not me. You.
Oh, God. I thought. I'm just like, are you wearing clothes underneath it?
I'm not, but it's not that kind of show.
Okay, so you want me to say it and have like the people that are
Repeat
watching.
Repeat after me. You can't tell by looking at me, but, and then finish it. Go ahead.
I'm trying. This is putting me on the spot.
Good.
This is funny because I just said I was asexual before, but that doesn't mean that asexual people aren't sexual to a certain extent. So I'm gonna say this: you can't tell by looking at me, but prior to going live just now, I watched like porn for like 20 minutes.
Oh, good. Nice. Which could mean several different things. It could mean you just watch porn, or it could mean you would just happen to like scroll through Twitter. Or
my porn. It's on Twitter.
Honestly, there's a few of our friends who are like who got their small businesses going on their OnlyFans pages. So
I'm like, am I retweeting those? I would, but
I can't even like them. I mean, I'm a glad board member now, so it's like
I have friends that there are porn stars and they're friends of mine, and I was like, I liked one of their posts once, and my brother, he's a straight cis guy, he follows me, and he was like, what the hell am I watching? It was like,
it goes on there, it like puts it on their timeline.
And I was like,
oh,
whoops.
Twitter. Damn you, Twitter. In light of, so season 13 of Drag Race is out right now, and there's an historic contestant, Mick, aka Got Mick, who is a trans man doing drag and performing as one of the queens. So in light of Got Mick's recent, I can't read the question, Rafe, can you bring it down again? In light of Got Mick's recent historic entrance on Drag Race, what are your thoughts on trans men performing as drag queens in dresses and heels? And all that. And I also want to know what everyone in the comments thinks. So drop your comments, and Laith, what do you think?
I mean, if you look at Got Mick, first, fantastic drag queen. I think he's following all the rules of drag, where I think that there's maybe this idea that if you are assigned female at birth, then you shouldn't be a drag queen because of X, Y, Z. His identity is still his identity, and it's not like he's walking around with like these huge breasts and big hips, and he still needs to, he uses padding, and he actually likes to showcase his scars on his chest, and that's his thing. But the makeup and his talent with makeup is outstanding. I think he's doing a fantastic job. I went on his live a few times when he was like post like after each episode. Sometimes he goes live with Candy Muse, and I think they're hilarious. So I'll go on and just scroll through the comments and just see what they're talking about. And people were really coming for Mick, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong? They were saying they kept talking about just his body and his height. Like, oh, you can tell that this is a trans man because he's short. And I'm like, how many short queens aren't there that no one ever, like Shangela is tiny, teeny tiny. No one has ever commented about Shangela's height and her being a lot smaller than the other queens. But the moment that you have a trans man stepping on and he happens to be a little bit shorter and around,
then it's an issue.
Season, these queens are also like extremely tall anyway, plus the heels. And they're just it's like silly things like that, which I mean, Mick handles it with grace, but I just think it's such people love to reach and search for whatever it is to like try to get under people's skin, but he's handling it really, really well.
I think so too. Yeah, I think he's fantastic. What are we seeing in the comments? Drop your opinions in the comments there. I think it's just so great that the show is putting more trans people on. The show definitely needs more and more and more and more. There's lots of other shows have crossed, been in this zone and long and further. So
Yeah.
we don't want Drag Race to get left behind. But I think Mick is doing such a fantastic job and really bringing the conversation of transness into the fold in a really beautiful and tender way. And it's just unfortunate that people are,
I think most
using.
are on board though, and they understand. I think that as we continue to move this conversation forward, and people are starting to see just the different layers of humanity in general. I was talking to Rafe earlier about how I'm working on a show. I said it was a little too soon to talk about, but I think this is an appropriate time to talk about it. The
Mhm.
premise of the show is basically kind of pulling apart gender, sexuality, gender expression, and how nuanced everything is, but also how important it is to everyone's identity and how fluid it can be, and how it's slowly like we're starting to see how much more fluid it is and can be as more people start coming out and start talking about things that they may have felt all their lives or maybe just discovered about themselves from seeing different types of representation in media and on television. So,
Sorry, I just clicked on the wrong thing on the. I'm listening.
no, but that's essentially it. So I think
So
that yeah,
you're working on this right now.
yeah, it's in the very early development stages, but I decided why wait for someone else to create something when I have a story, I have a platform, and I can do it myself.
We're getting all the tea
Yeah.
from Laith today. Let's look at these comments. Vegeji, do you think I said that right? Vegeji says, clothes really have no gender and drag is all about expression through art. That is ain't that the truth? Um, ex, um, okay. Explosion spelled just like that, says screw bioessentialism. Wow, I've actually never used that word before.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's cis sexism basically,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
that's how I interpret it as. So yeah, if it's
yeah.
not that, then they should probably put
They'll
their
hopefully they'll let us know because that's how we took it.
yeah.
Okay, let's keep it going. Break a leg, break a heel to Gottmik and everyone on season 13. Um, Okay, so by the way, head over everyone to my Patreon if you'd like to see me and Laith talk about Laith's very adorable car, finding compromise in 2021, the worst meal Laith ever made, and his biggest pet peeve. Uh, that's what you should do. That's on my Patreon. By the way, we have some questions from our Patreon viewers. Huge shout out and thank you to everyone on Patreon for supporting the show. Nelson DePina, who is our like OG on our Patreon, might have been one of the first people we ever had on the damn Patreon. Says, "Love you both. When it comes to the entertainment industry, can friendship and business mix? For example, having someone who's really close to you and also be your assistant and help manage you." Um, what do you have to say about
For
that?
me, you have to be very mature and understand, really be able to separate both relationships because I think
Mhm.
otherwise it can. I mean, I feel like we're human. For example, I honestly, I can't speak to your relationship with your assistant. But for me, I don't think that I would want that. Um, yeah, it's just I like to keep business and personal separate. If I were to, for example, right now I'm actually my manager is my brother, and I'm just testing it out. But
Oh,
but it's
we
not.
gotta talk. We gotta catch up. We
Yeah,
gotta catch up.
So I know we haven't spoken in a little while. So he works at Callan Lord now, and because of COVID, he's in a supervisor position, so he gets to work from home, which is why he has had all this time to handle all this paperwork with him and his wife getting a new house and things like that. So I told him, I'm like, hey, I let go of my old team. As I'm building my new team. How do you feel about like helping me out for a little bit? And he said yes, but it's almost like I'm still doing all the work because he'll
That's
get something and it's still like I'm still the one calling the shots. Obviously, you are in general anyway, but if I'm like, you're supposed to be helping me, I'm essentially walking him through everything that I'm doing anyway. So it doesn't
the
necessarily
ropes.
it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
help. But he's also new to this, so there's it's gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah, there's going to be a learning curve.
For sure.
Well, I think that's great, and good
But
luck with
yeah,
it. I mean, he knows that that's one benefit is that he knows you very well, probably
yeah,
better than who the learning curve would have been opposite, where
yeah,
the new manager who may have had experience has to get to know who you are, get to know what
yeah.
kind of things you really and he knows you better than any manager could.
Now I'm thinking about it. Now, maybe I take it back. Maybe with a friend, it might cause, some strain in the relationship, but maybe because he's my brother and my younger brother at that, I
Mhm.
kind of always been like telling him what to do. Like you're gonna listen to me, little brother, and this is just what it is now. But he's
Um, I,
he's happy to help and he's really sweet.
um, I I actually have a great relationship with my assistant, and we are very close friends. Um, but we weren't like best friends before he worked as my assistant. And I think someone being your assistant, it's inevitable. They're going to be in your personal space. They're going to be all up in your business. You
Yeah.
have to have that kind of trust and closeness as your assistant. I don't necessarily have that same relationship with my management. Um, I love my management. They're lovely, but it's not like they're coming at my house, having drinks. They live
Yeah.
in a different state anyway. So does my assistant. But I do think that it is possible to have someone who's already in your personal circle, but having a manager or an assistant, those two jobs in particular, an agent, something else is one thing, but having a manager and an assistant are two things that are very personal, because these are people who are with you through the thick and thin, hopefully over the course of years, and able to kind of be with you as your career grows. And so it is a very personal thing. What it can get very difficult for a friend to handle, or
Yeah.
it could be something great and you become really close. And so I like to choose people that are, I believe, the best for the job, and then we bring them on. Uh, by the way, I want to say thank you to everybody who's in here because we changed our time. We normally would be going on at 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, but we are playing around with the times a little bit. We want to make sure that we get the right thing in there because we have lots of folks who are in the UK who having them up at like doing a 9 o'clock show that starts at like 3 a.m. or something UK time. It was not fair to the UK viewers. So I hope if there's some UK viewers in this tonight, drop a Union Jack in the chat. I want to know how many UK viewers we have and is it worth it? I know this isn't the earliest for you, but it's much better than 3 o'clock in the morning. We have a comment from YouTube before we continue. Actually, no, let's go on with the next question. Is there another question? Oh, if that's the only question, right? It looks like it.
Yeah, that's it.
So I have a comment from YouTube. Joey De Jesus says, Walking While Trans was repealed in New York today. Yes, yes. Uh, oop. Walking While Trans was repealed in New York today, thanks to the efforts of activists across the state and a legislature that finally listened a little bit. Just a little something to celebrate today. Thank you so much, Joey De Jesus,
Yes, thank
commenting, watching on YouTube. That's awesome. Um, Nakoma says, some people think that I should just stay a woman,
you.
especially since I live in Florida.
Hmm.
I get quite the amount of hate. Oh, so you identify as trans, maybe they identify as trans and are not getting any encouragement from people around them. Florida, I mean, you said it. um, Listen, you can. Well, it's inevitable. You can encounter hatred and intolerance no matter where. Obviously, we've seen that over the past few years, and so depending on where you live, it may be there may be some things to consider. Like I love living in New York. It's extremely open. There's so much there's still plenty of people that discriminate. The trans murder rate was high here. It can get crazy, but the great thing about larger cities generally is that there is that it's easier to find a community in those cities, people that are can understand what you're going through. So I'm so sorry, Nakoma. Um, but I do want to do a little bit of a switch. We have some very exciting news. Speaking of finding community, Nakoma, we have some exciting news here at Team Peppermint. We added Discord to our Patreon member benefits. This means that if you join my Patreon, you'd be supporting me and the production. Hello, hello. But you'd also gain access to a Patreon only chat and have the ability to be a part of our virtual video chat audience, which we affectionately call the Candy Dish. And so can we go to the candy? We haven't found a way to go to beam the Candy Dish into the show, but we're working on it. And so everybody in the Candy Dish, thank you so much. Giving you some love. And in case you're unfamiliar with Discord, here's some quick tips on how to get it going. You create an account on Discord, and then you log into Patreon, and you click on the apps tab in Patreon. You click connect to the Discord app, and you log in to Discord to find Candy Dish. So you kind of create the account, log into both, and then you connect them. And you'll be sitting in that Candy Dish. So we used to show the trailers for our movies, but we're no longer doing that because we got in trouble. so, and so tonight's movie is One Night in Miami. One Night in Miami. And so here's the synopsis in lieu of the trailer. On the night of February 25th. Is that good? Let's do it like that. On the night of February 25th, 1964, in Miami, Cassius Clay joins Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, and Malcolm X. Cassius Clay being Muhammad Ali before he changed his name to Muhammad Ali. And they discuss the responsibility of being successful Black men during the civil rights movement. And so that's the synopsis. If anybody watched One Night in Miami beforehand, I want to hear what you have to think about the movie. And so you can, some of the questions that I ask Laith, you can answer as well. But drop a palm tree in the comments if you've, or leave a tip if you watched the movie. Okay, so what were you mentioned that you might not have watched this movie. This movie was directed by I think she can do no wrong. I think she's wonderful, Regina King. I loved watching her. Rafe got a chance to watch Regina King with me when we were watching The Watchmen on HBO last year. During I guess this was almost 2 years ago. Anyway, so it's directed by Regina King, and let me get the cast list up. And it's Miami cast. It is starring cast. Leslie Odom Jr. Oh my God, his voice. Jim Brown. Well, not the real Jim Brown, sorry. Leslie Odom Jr., Eli Gorey, Kingsley Ben Adir, and Aldis Hodge. Maybe it's Aldis Hodge. Yeah. And they're fantastic. And also shout out to Jeremy Pope, a dear friend who's also in the movie. And so what are your overall thoughts?
So honestly, I had not heard of it, and I didn't know that it was even in.
It's a true story.
Yes, that I'm aware of.
I mean, I'm telling you.
No, yeah. I was always obviously he came and he was a boxer before my time, but I was a huge fan of Muhammad Ali growing up. At least what I learned about him, as boxing was one of my very first sports. I did not know until watching this movie, however, that he had a relationship with Malcolm X, and that he was involved in the way that he was in the civil rights movement, which I should have known. He was huge in a time that where it was when it was happening. So um, I've been watching a lot of Black cinema in general. Like I just watched
Mhm.
a couple weeks ago. I watched Mandingo, the
Oh
one that
yeah, from the
from
80s,
1975.
75.
Yeah. And I just remember whenever I watch things like this and I watch Injustice, I get so it makes me so sick and angry because
Mhm.
I know that these things happened in real life, and this is just showing one tiny instance. This was happening over and over and over again, and it continues, and it's still a lot of what was happening then still applies today, with what we have going on now, with what's going on with our administration, and what the 45 was doing, trying to
Mhm.
take rights away from LGBTQ people, um, not calling out white supremacy and these terrorist groups, and kind of standing behind them. And it was to me something so shameful and disgusting, yet it was in our faces. And to see this is just it feels sometimes like we've come so far, but it almost feels like we haven't moved much at times.
Yeah, well, I mean that's very real. And so the the movie itself. Um,
Yeah.
do you think that one of the things that I was just really amazed by with the movie, because I didn't know much about the story,
Yeah.
this it reminded me of a play that I saw years ago that my mother, when I say years, I mean decades ago, when my mom took me to go and see. It was called The Meeting, and it was written about, it's fictional, but it was written about an actual, it's a fictional storytelling of an actual event that took place, which is what this is. This is a fictional storytelling of something that actually took place. And it's a meeting between Malcolm X, ironically or coincidentally, and Martin Luther King Jr.
Mm.
And everybody knows that they had some different philosophies and were certainly viewed very differently in the public eye when they were at their prime. But this was a meeting, of the two of them just in a hotel room and really hashing out everything. And that's basically what this was. So it reminded me a lot of the meeting.
Mhm.
Um, just to see that this conversation of, you know, that we see a lot with sports figures and actors when they speak up on political issues and things that are social, social justice issues.
Yeah.
The response that we see from people, some people, you know, the response that we see sometimes is abusive, where people will say, shut up, you're just an actor, be quiet, and then you have to kind of figure out for yourself how much you're going to really engage, in the political conversation. Should I just do my job and be an actor and be quiet? Or should I say what I need to say and what I feel? Um, and so I think that's really the question at the root of this movie.
It's
Um,
it's difficult because I think there's something in us all where we want to be liked, and when you start getting
mhm.
critical or speaking up on certain issues where there are going to be like different viewpoints and multiple sides, that's when maybe you start being vulnerable. You start kind of showing who you are and what your beliefs are, and if someone doesn't agree with those beliefs, that's when it may be a problem. But I think that one thing, a takeaway would be like we're not here to be liked. Um, I think we're here to try to do what's right. Um, I think there's the scene where Jim Brown was a football player, right?
Uh-huh.
He goes to visit he goes to Georgia, and you can see his
Oh my God, in the beginning. Oh,
yeah, his body language up the entire time from the moment that he knocks on the door and is finally invited in, when he says that he's a professional football player, but he's not allowed in the house. And the way
Mhm.
that the owner of the house, I can't remember his name right now, just calls him the N-word
The
and
N
was like,
word. Oh,
I was like, you N-words. My son. Like, oh, honey, you know that you N-words aren't allowed inside the house. He was trying to help him, an older man, move furniture as a young
furniture.
player, and
Mhm.
still, you know what I'm saying? And I thought that was it was so horrific.
Mhm.
I wanted to punch him through the screen. Like,
It made
yeah,
me sick.
yeah,
And that all that happened after, not to spoil the movie,
yeah,
but we're here to talk about it.
yeah,
All that happened after this really kind of heartfelt conversation
yeah,
on the porch about how what a great man he was, Jim Brown, and how what a great star he would be, and how much he's doing for the
yeah,
community, being this football player that everyone that's bringing shining a light on the community and doing great things for the team, and
yeah,
we're going to have a great future, and you're so bright. And then won't let him in, call him the N word, and won't let him. We don't let the N words in the house.
yeah,
Get on out, you silly.
yeah, yeah. So that hurt. And I'm like, it hurt me, and it wasn't even directed at me, and I wasn't there, but I was just
Yeah.
like, ugh. And then when they have the meeting in the hotel room, and he
Mhm.
talks about it there, and he says, it's almost like some folks expect a pat on their back for just being a decent human being. And
Yeah.
that really struck a chord. So um, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed listening to the different perspectives around why uh, they felt so strongly. And essentially, it was a battle of these belief systems and what people believed, and how we needed to change the hearts and minds of the masses. And how do you go about doing that? Because we see it today with Black Lives Matter. How a few years ago, when Black Lives Matter started, they received a lot of backlash from people within their own community because they were too radical, like as though wanting justice and equitable treatment and equality
Is
is
the audacity of that.
yeah. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah, this is the tone was, and this is one of the things that's really interesting. Jim Brown versus what's his name? Oh my gosh.
Can't remember the name of
The football player OJ Simpson.
yeah.
Jim Brown versus OJ Simpson. This was, Jim Brown was a little earlier and a little older than OJ Simpson, came a little after. But
Mhm.
these were two star Black athletes, football players, that were lauded by the rest of that grew up in a time when segregation was still happening. And then, but they were given sort of a little bit of a pass, not quite so much, but a little bit of a pass. Like, oh, they're not like the rest of those Black folks out there, marching for civil rights. They are a great football player. And so famously, OJ Simpson, I've said this before, has said, like in the middle, when asked about the civil rights struggle, in the middle of everything that was happening, was asked why he wasn't participating in that, and what do you think about, like, I don't remember, I'm paraphrasing, but like, what do you think about, civil rights for Black folks or something like that? And OJ Simpson was like, I'm not Black, I'm OJ Simpson. And it really kind of highlighted
Yeah.
what he thought about the community and how much he was willing to kind of engage
Mhm.
on that level versus, and so he chose his career and the successes of his career at the expense of not wanting to make the white people around him
Uncomfortable.
uncomfortable. And so Jim Brown and Sam Cooke and uh,
But
who
Ali.
else? Cassius Clay
Okay.
were
Play.
on the verge. Muhammad Ali were on the verge of that decision. Whether do we keep straight because we have the approval of white America? Do we
Mhm.
keep on that path and just take the adulation, but not make them uncomfortable, which
Yeah.
means that we'll have definitely have a better career, or do we talk about what's actually happening right here and now?
But
And
that. And if you don't ruffle any feathers, it was all to their liking because they still have the power and the control. There's another scene in the movie where Sam Cooke is performing, and he hasn't even started to speak on the microphone yet. He's just stepping out onto the stage, and you see the white couples just immediately get up and walk out.
Get up and
And
start to leave.
they're like, oh, it's like, oh, we don't want to see this person here. Like, this is not for your kind. This is for our. And that way of thinking to me is just, it's so it's so wrong and so sick. I feel I should have lit myself, but I feel like as nightfall has been hitting, my light source it's decreasing. So I apologize to everybody watching that I am now in the dark with one light on me right
It is true. It's darker in the background now, but it's all good. Your face is glowing. It was really interesting to watch them kind of take that journey. And Malcolm X, for those of you who are watching, Malcolm X was basically the catalyst for at least based on the story in the movie. Malcolm X, after having some really intense conversations that all nearly broke out in fistfights, encouraging them to use their blackness to their own advantage and talk about what's going on. I believe that he was the catalyst for a lot of the changes in the careers that happened with these three men. Clearly, he was the catalyst. He invited Cassius Clay into the Nation of Islam, and Cassius Clay at that hotel right after that meeting announced that he was changing his name to Malcolm X. Malcolm X to Muhammad Ali. And he did that with Malcolm X right by his side. And the biggest tension in the movie was between Malcolm and Sam Cooke, the singer, and basically telling him, you need to change your kind of music and really sing about like what's going on and stop like, placating to white America, who just wants you to pretend like everything's rosy and sweet when we're getting killed and shot on the street.
Yeah.
And so to me, it really resonated because we're still in this conversation, but the conversation of BLM and how do we all engage with BLM was something that it got started in 2020. And so it's very fresh for me. And I think it was wonderful. What do you think about the acting?
I thought the acting was fantastic. The actor that was playing Malcolm X, I think he's an English actor, a British actor.
He is. He starred in High Fidelity as well. He's really good.
It was fantastic.
Kingsley Ben-Adir.
Yeah, and I'm so terrible. And the actor that was playing Cassius Clay / Muhammad Ali was also. It was so real. They got everything down, the accents and everything. I was like, at one point, if I turned away and I was listening to the actor playing Muhammad,
You could tell. Yeah.
Like, is that actually him?
His name's Eli Gorey.
Yeah, it was spot on. And Aldous Hodge, he's one of my like favorite male actors. So I think he's fantastic.
He was amazing.
He's so strong. He's like very leading man material, for sure.
Leslie Odom. First of all, Leslie Odom. Let's look. Leslie Odom's voice, we know. Like Leslie Odom has an amazing voice. And there's a song from what is the name of the song from the show? There's this beautiful song. Oh my gosh. I gotta find it. Videos when anyway, I'm gonna tell you about the song in a minute. But before we do, I didn't know that I knew that Sam Cooke kind of the most I knew about Sam Cooke was the song "A Change Is Gonna Come," and I didn't know that he was singing non-political music, like deliberately avoiding singing about the civil rights struggle, until he had this conversation with Malcolm X, who said, you need to put it into your music. And then he wrote A Change Is Gonna Come after Malcolm got shot.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's not. Malcolm was still alive.
2 days before.
2 days before, yeah. I knew it was right around. It was 2 days before. And he performed it on live on television. And that's like, I mean, it's obviously was a hit, but I think it was, it's just, I was in tears. I was
Yeah.
in tears.
It was a very powerful, and the way that they shot it, they shot that scene too. Um, I I had a moment myself.
Speak Now is the name of the song that plays during the credits. It's the original song on the soundtrack of One Night in Miami, also sung by Leslie Odom. Listen, get it, listen to it, y'all. It is beautiful, 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 beautiful. It gives me chills. Um, Let me check the comments right now and see if there's anything going on in
I've
those
been
comments.
and check out, see what's
Do you see anything in the comments?
uh
Anything?
not yet. Let's see.
Are there any palm trees?
Nope,
Because I
I don't
said,
palm. Where are the palm trees, y'all?
I guess nobody watched the movie.
Yeah,
Um, well, I have another comment for a question for you while we look for the comments.
yeah.
Um, what is the personal, what's the impact, does this movie, if any, what impact does it have on your personal life? Just like this conversation or any of the themes, any of it.
I mean, being someone that's I'm in entertainment, I'm in the public eye. I've experienced that before, where I've been told, where someone has tried to silence me and said, "Oh, you're just a model. You shouldn't speak on these issues." And I'm just like, so I shouldn't speak on issues that are going to affect me personally and my community and the people that I love. You know, it doesn't make sense. So it just motivated me to say more and be more vocal, if anything. I follow this person on Instagram. They're non-binary. Their name is Janae the Future. They go by Future.
Okay.
And I think as an activist, as they're absolutely spectacular. And if you're not following them, I suggest you follow them now. Every Sunday they
Okay.
have Sunday sermon, and they talk about everything that's going on, and they just have the language to kind and all the verbiage to really um, I don't know how to explain. I don't even have it to explain. Like just to talk about everything that's going on in society right now, everything that's going on in politics. Like they're very knowledgeable, and how to go about navigating these spaces and how to speak on it. So I think that if you're not following them, they're a great resource for information, and they've even uploaded transcripts of their talks. So if anyone wants to take a look and quote them, you can, because I think they're genius.
Um, I want to give a mention to Val. Um, I'm not sure where Val says, I'm too uncultured to know any movies. Val, that is what Pep Talks is for. And so if you follow me, then you know, like we announce beforehand, almost a week beforehand, what the movie's going to be. And so you can watch the movie on your own beforehand. We're going to announce the next week's movie in just a couple minutes. Well, we have to go out and follow them.
Yeah,
Um,
the future.
Algies Alexander says, listening and absorbing. Okay, awesome. This is great. Maybe we're shedding some info for y'all. Um, do you think this movie holds any relevance
To today.
on to today? Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I mean, we've been making the comparison to even the BLM
yeah.
movement now. And I don't know if you were aware, they just won a Nobel Peace Prize, which is huge because they
Who
went
did?
the
One in Miami?
Black Lives Matter movement.
Oh, Black Lives Matter. I was like, what?
Yeah. So the Black Lives Matter movement won a Nobel Peace,
Yes,
which is
that's what I'm
absolutely
talking about.
because Black Lives Matter is all of us who believe in equality for all
Yeah,
people. And I think
yeah.
people have misconstrued the meaning of what the movement means, and it means so much because went from winning from being called a terrorist group to being given a prestigious award, which is major, and it's kind of it's I'm sure that the people that are on the ground doing all that work are thrilled to know that that change is
Of
happening.
course they are.
Um,
And I think the people who, not to bring up our previous president, but this was a prize that he was seeking. He was
mhm.
saying he believed that he should get the Nobel Peace Prize. And
Girl.
so he wasn't. Um but to know that BLM, the movement that he was trying to demonize,
Yeah,
did get it, I think is wonderful.
yeah.
Um
'Cause I think
Yeah.
it gives me a lot of hope that folks are really, you know, not not in agreement with this white supremacy ideology that's plagued our society for so long. Um, it's just, again, I think that a lot of what we have been taught in general is a lie, and the more you learn and understand people and what we've been through and how we've gotten to this point, the more your eyes become open to what's going on in the world. And yeah, like it's funny because I'm the type of person that sometimes I just feel too much and too deeply. So if I feel
Mhm.
certain things, yeah, I mean, you already know, like if I am in the slump, like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I like shut my blinds down. You see how dark it is in my house right now without these two little lights. It will be pitch black, and I'll just be in my own bubble, in my cocoon, trying to just make sense of everything, and I won't come out until I feel like I'm ready to do that. But this has kind of, you feel like you open the blinds and you see some light coming in, and it feels refreshing. You feel alive again. It's given me that sense of hope, that society is like, we're getting better. We're becoming more understanding. We're becoming just more open to change, because change is
Mhm.
an inevitable way, but to positive change and growth.
100%, especially considering what we went through the past couple of weeks with the siege at the Capitol,
Yeah.
which we want people to continue to be held accountable for.
Right.
It is encouraging that people, I think, are understanding. People are having a grasping and understanding of systemic racism and how to be and have a goal of being anti-racist in a
Yeah.
way that I've never seen before. And I'm really excited about that. Tell us, how important is it to the reason why, and I say this all every week. I started this because I had some friends who aren't black who didn't think it was important to see black films, and so that's why I basically started this.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get folks who aren't black to engage with black culture in a way that feels normal and routine. And
Yeah.
so, how important is it supporting black films?
I mean, it's of the utmost importance. I mean, we've been taught all across the board, not even just in cinema, that white is status quo. So
Yeah.
white music, white film, white business is status quo, and black is just other. When that's not the case. Black culture is culture, and seeing and watching the stories being told from the perspective of the people that are that are experiencing them is important, because oftentimes you can have films or television where they're trying or attempting to tell the story of a certain group, but the writers are not they have not experienced that. They're giving
Mm-hmm.
their own perspective from their own biased, possibly biased perspective, even if they don't view themselves as being biased or bigoted in any way. um, a lot of what we see around us and a lot of what we watch in media that's mostly white it's going to dictate the way that we view other people. I remember when I traveled to the UK for the first time. I met this he was a this college student. He was a graduate student, actually, graduate student from Poland, and he was studying in university in London. And he was a gay white man from Poland living in the UK. And he said that he was dating a black man at the time, and he remembers
What
when
did he say?
well, it wasn't anything negative. He's for it. He so
Okay.
he brought his black boyfriend home to Poland, and when he got to the front door of his parents' front door to, introduce them to his new man, they were afraid to let them in.
Wait, what year
Uh,
was this? The first. What year was this?
th- I went. He told me when I went to the UK I think this was 2016. But so that or 2016, 2015, but that happened maybe a few years prior. And that just,
But in the 2000s.
yeah. So I was just like, okay. So in the two late like 2000s, you go home to Poland with your black boyfriend and your parents were afraid. Why were they afraid? And do you know what he
Mm,
told me? He said they
mhm.
were afraid because all of the images that they had ever seen from American cinema and American television of black people were that of criminals.
Violent and
Right.
criminals.
Violent.
And mhm. Go,
So
go, go.
I was gonna say, like, we don't think about how much power entertainment and media and
Wow.
television has on the world. It does, especially in countries where they've never had a black person in their neighborhood, like that in that instance. And it's a small town. He's from a small town in Poland. I'm not sure exactly where.
Mhm, mhm.
So I think that people, especially American films and American media, American entertainment, is almost like the world religion. Everyone watches. It's the culture that kind of feeds a lot of the world. So if we are throwing out these kind of films and television where it's saying that people of color, specifically black folks, are criminal, that's what the world is going to think. That's what their belief system is going to be, or part of it. So I think watching black cinema, watching things from stories being told from black people, it's absolutely important from black people's
I'm
perspective.
going to check the comments now. And we have a surprise for you all in just a minute. Yep, it's that guy says, oh, yep, it's that guy says, y'all are the most beautiful and inspiring people I have ever encountered. Good
Oh,
grief. Thank you.
wow.
That
You,
is really quite a sentiment. That's a comment.
yeah.
Um, on YouTube, Val says, I just hope one day people would just judge each other for their character and not for what they're born as, just like Martin Luther King wanted. Yeah, he wanted a lot more than that. But yeah, that's 100% true, Val. We'll get there, but it's going to take work from all of us. I think that's the point. And Beakley D just gave us a tip. Thank you so much, Beakley. And they also said, I just wanted to say I adore you. Well, we adore you too. Thank you so much, Beakley. Uh, for those of you that are watching now, make sure that you follow Laith Ashley on Instagram and Twitter on at Laith Ashley. And just another reminder, before the show, we talked about Laith's cute car, finding compromise in 2021, the worst meal Laith ever made, and his biggest pet peeve. And if you want to watch, please head over to my Patreon, where you can also find that and other exclusive behind the scenes videos and full episodes of Pep Talks. We need a theme song. Pep Talks. Alaska made up a theme song for us. We actually should use Alaska's voice. I'm going to talk to you about that, Mitch,
Okay.
and we'll get Alaska's approval. Algiz Alexander said Western media needs to rewrite the narrative. That is 100% true.
It's a lot of that.
Um,
It's I don't know if you've watched. I'm sure a lot of folks have watched Bridgerton because everyone's in love with the main character.
oh
Um,
wow,
so
I haven't watched it,
I
but
what I loved about Bridgerton is that it showed that black folks existed during that time when we watch period pieces, it's almost all white except for maybe a servant, maybe one servant that's black that you see when there's any cinema
mhm.
period. Here we saw black people that were royalty. They were, they weren't just the people that were serving in the background. So I thought that was amazing, and it's all based on a true story as well. So I loved it.
um, that's I mean it's and that's what changing our it just shows the power of media and I think you're 100% right about that. Okay, so I'm going to go right now. We're going to move on to this segment. It is the skincare segment of the week. We've been doing skincare a lot because it's January and it's a new year. And so this is my favorite product of the week. It is the Kate Somerville Delicate Cleanse and Recover. We'll drop a picture right now on the screen for you. It costs $40. And here it is right here. It's a tube. and it's a cream cleanser. It's similar to the goat milk cleanser that they have. I used that on with Sasha Velour when Sasha was our guest. But this, I don't know if this is vegan, but it's certainly not made of goat's milk. And I felt a lot better about that. I'm not vegan per se, but I just don't necessarily want like goat's milk in my facial cleanser. But this is a great sort of alternative to that. I use a cream cleanser before I put on my makeup. And I'll use a gel cleanser and a makeup remover and a whole bunch of stuff after I take off my makeup, which is a little bit different. And I use an enzyme cleanser in the morning. But before I do my makeup, like before every show, I'll use a cream cleanser before I use a toner. And so that's kind of my process. But this is great. It has no fragrance. It goes on really, the play is really, really smooth. I like to just wet my hands, wet my face, put a little, like a dime size, not much in there, in the palm, and then move it around the face and kind of massage for a couple of minutes and then rinse it off. It is one of those cleansers that likes to stick to the skin. And so make sure when you rinse like 16 times, like splash your face like a good 10 to 15 times, not just once, because you really want to get the product off because it could be damaging. So that's the Delicate Soothing Cleanser, and it soothes for the new year. And by the way, before we show we have a special presentation that we want to show, sort of an encore presentation. But before we show it, if you are just joining us, please head over to my Patreon to see everything that you just missed, the whole show. Right now, I want to remind everybody that I have a new album out. It's called A Girl Like Me, Letters to My Lovers. It's basically my personal diary set to music. I got dumped, and then I wrote a record. If it works for Taylor Swift, it works for me. And so we have a new, Laith is featured on the album in a song called Every Morning, and we just released our new music video. And so we want to invite you to go to watch the music video. Hopefully some of our mods can post the link to the music video in the chat. But we have a special presentation. Laith and I did a live performance of it, which has only been seen once in my show, a live show that I did recently. And so we wanted to bring that to each and every one of you. So here is the live performance of Every Morning. Woo.
Lying there in the morning light, watching as he sleeps in his arms, soft and warm. She never wants to leave. If she could freeze this moment, realize the fantasy, she'd give up all the nights before just to have him there. Every morning, when she opens up her eyes,
in her eyes, something more than he's ever seen. Her future wife, he's open wide to the possibilities. Nervous as he pours the coffee with so much to say. Can he grow to be the man he knows that he could be? Every morning, when she opens up her eyes. Every morning, like the first morning light.
when she opens up her eyes. Every morning,
first morning light.
every morning, baby. Up her eyes. Every morning, like the first morning light. Yes.
So there you have it. That is the live performance, this special live performance of Every Morning. Of course, the official music video and the lyric video are available. If you select this song, please, 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 please share it. Share it with 10 people if you can. Share it on your social media, trying to get the word out. This is a song that I wrote together with Corey Tutt and Adam Joseph, two of the producers on my album, and I love it. And Laith's voice is just like butter on the track. And so please share it, and we'll probably, maybe Laith or myself will post it on social media a little bit later on as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I want to say a thank you to Julia Miller, who just tipped oh my gosh, tipped $10. Thank you so much, Julia Miller. Julia Miller says, movies and skincare? I love the show. Oh my God. And I love you. Well, thank you, Julia. I love you. So now is that part of the time where we randomly pick and announce next week's movie. And so I've got my little spinner here. And I'm going to spin. I like to do it so you can hear it. Can you hear that? Okay, it is Eve's Bayou. Eve's Bayou is next week's movie. And our special guest will be announced on our Patreon and then, of course, on social media. So if you are watching now and would like to tune in next week, please watch the movie Eve's Bayou. I'm telling you that now, okay? I've actually never seen it, so I can't wait to watch it. Make sure you check the announcements. Oh, that's what I just said. Yeah, watch it beforehand so that when you come to the show, you would have already seen it, so you can chat it up in the candy dish if you join our Patreon. So listen, I want to say thank you to everybody for watching. I know we started a little bit late and we went over, but y'all are absolutely amazing. Please share that video, and I will see you next week. Cue the closing credits and theme song. Pep talks, pep talks. Everybody love pep talks.
Love it.